Hello students, welcome to Skholar IAS Current Affairs classes. Hope you are all set. Let's get into the class.
First article is on dedicated freight corridor, and this is related to your GS3 paper economic development. First let's try to understand what is DFC, that is the dedicated freight corridor. It is a railway infrastructure project, okay, and this infrastructure project has two aspects to it. One is the Eastern DFC and next is the Western DFC. So the Eastern DFC is here, you can see the Eastern DFC. It starts from Ludhiana in Punjab and it ends in West Bengal. So you can see it here. This is what the Eastern DFC is. It connects Punjab and West Bengal, and the Western DFC connects Uttar Pradesh, that is Dadri in Uttar Pradesh and Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust in Mumbai. Students, these two aspects are very important. You have to remember this for your prelims. A question can be asked about the places that these dedicated freight corridors are connecting. Okay, so this is about dedicated freight corridor. So the question is, why do we need it? Why do we need dedicated freight corridor? Because almost 70% of the freight trains that are currently operating, they are operating in the existing Indian railway network. Okay, so what happens? This reduces the network's capacity to run passenger trains. So once this dedicated freight corridors starts to operate, almost 70% of them would be shifted to these freight corridors and passenger trains can be increased. So that is the first advantage. And also the idea behind building such corridors is that the entire railway network would be started from scratch, because it is not going to be dependent on existing Indian railway network. It would be totally a new network. And also the tracks on DFCs are designed to carry heavier loads than most of the Indian railways. So just because these corridors are going to be for the sole purpose of freight trains, the load that these trains would be carrying would also be more than what is currently being carried in the Indian railway network. So these tracks are designed in such a way that it could support such loads. So how will this change? How will these DFCs actually bring change? The first thing is, because of these DFCs, the number of level crossings are going to be reduced. Most of the level crossings would even be eliminated, just to augment the speed of these freight trains. And there is also no restriction on the speed of these trains that are flying on this DFC. Okay, so and these freight trains can reach almost up to 50 to 60 km per hour. That is more than what is already that is being achieved under the existing railway network, that is 25 km per hour. And on top of all this, the important aspect is making sure that agriculture produce of one particular area reaches the other part of India, and so the farmers are able to realize money for their produce, and they also have a good reach for markets. And by this, the inflation also will come down, because the market, when the products are made accessible, becomes cheaper, and also they would be reaching the markets in a faster way because of DFC connectivity. So this is all about this DFC article, students. This is a very simple article. You cannot expect a direct question on DFC, but you can relate important points of this with infrastructure development that is happening around India. Any question on infrastructure you can add these points to those questions. Okay. The second article is on formulas. If you remember, we have come across many articles on this topic itself, because of the sensitivity around it and the development that is happening around it, this thing, formulas. So make a note of the new points that you come across, because some points would be a repetition, so avoid them, but make a note of the important new points that would be useful for your exam. Okay, we are bringing you the important articles, and we are also making sure that all the points are important for your exam. So make a note of only those things that is new to you right now. Okay, so first let's try to understand the concerns for farmers around the new formulas. The first thing is that the farmers fear the APMCs, that is agriculture produce market committees, would be dismantled. Okay, because this is where the farmers take their produce and sell them. And the second thing is the fear of discontinuation of procurement at MSPs. So the government procures most of the farm produce from the farmers at MSP, minimum support price, and they feel that if this farm laws are implemented, MSP would be scrapped. And also they also fear, because of the Contract Farming Act, they fear that the land would be lost to the corporates because of the contracts that they would be entering into. These are the fears, the main concerns that farmers have. Now let's try to analyze these concerns by trying to understand the existing current scenario. Okay, so as per a study, almost over a period of this 2001 to 2016-17, almost in 7 to 8 years, the Indian agriculture has been implicitly taxed about 14% of its value. Why does this happen? Because of the restrictions that are existing in the current situation. So now the farmers have only one option of selling the produce, that is through APMCs and through MSP. And this is a restrictive trade practice because they don't have the liberty to sell outside these markets and to able to get better price for their own produce. So this restrictive trade has led to implicit taxing of almost 14% on their value. And to improve price realization, the agriculture has to be liberated. Right now, we know that all the sectors, India is an open economy, and all the sectors are liberated except for few sectors that are under the government control. Okay, most of the sectors are liberated just to make sure that the market controls these sectors. But in case of agriculture, which is a dominant sector in India, it is still being controlled. It is still being restricted. The market for agriculture produce is still restricted. So for farmers to actually realize the potential of an open economy, they have to be liberated. Agriculture has to be liberated. Okay, and the farm law tries to do that. And that too, APMC markets and MSP will face competition. Why do we say that liberation would actually lead to farmers realizing better prices? That right now they have only certain cartels that are functioning within this APMC. They fix the price and they dictate the terms of purchasing, and MSP is the other option that is left with the farmers. But once it is open and once the market decides the price of a particular product, these APMCs and MSP would face competition, and farmers would even be able to get better price for their produce than what is being offered under MSP or APMC. Okay, so that they would be able to realize better prices. And also only 6% of the farmers sell their produce at MSP, that is minimum support price, and that too these farmers are concentrated mostly in Punjab and Haryana. And who gets benefited mostly out of these MSP and APMC system is that these are large farmers, because only when you are able to sell surplus amount of a large amount of your agri produce, you would be able to see some profit. But India has more population of small and marginal farmers, and that too they constitute almost 86% of the farmers population, and they mostly get benefited only through FPOs. So what does it convey? The APMC mandis are not as beneficial as it is for the small and marginal farmers as it is for large farmers. So farm laws, whatever the farm laws are trying to do is nothing but trying to change the system for the benefit of small and marginal farmers. So where can we find the balance? How do we address the concerns of the farmers as well as at the same time bring the reformations that are being brought through this farm laws? So the one thing that we have to do is to address the concerns, that is about dismantling of APMC and the discontinuation of MSP. These are the concerns that farmers have. We saw that. So what the government needs to do is they have to give a written assurance for its continuation and strengthening of this mechanisms, this systems. And next thing is the government can also consider giving written assurance about the farm laws regarding the contract farm laws, which says that the contract would happen only on the produce or not on the land, so that the farmers would not have the apprehension of losing their land. And also the farmer should be allowed to take any dispute arising out of these contracts to district courts. Okay, so they should feel that they have a redressal mechanism through which their concerns can be addressed. Any concern that would arise in future can be addressed. And the government can also commit to create a fund like let's similar to this price stabilization scheme, they can develop a fund whereby any fall of prices in the future can be taken care of. Let's say if the prices of the produce fall more than 10% below the MSP, then this fund can be utilized to make sure there is a stability in the agri market and farmers don't lose all their money. So this is about the formula, students. Again I repeat, take care of make a note of the important points and those points that you have not made that are totally new to you right now. Okay, so let's move to the next article. The last article is on remote voting. Again, this is also a follow-up to our previous articles that we have been discussing in our last classes. Okay, so this is related to the proxy voting that has been in news quite often. So what this article says is that the article demands for the migrants to cast their vote remotely. Okay, so we know there was an election commission recently said that NRI should be allowed to give proxy voting, do proxy voting. In line with this article says that even the migrants, internal migrants, have to be given the right to vote remotely. Okay, to secure their democratic right, because we know it's a fundamental right that is guaranteed under Article 19(1)(a). That is, it's not explicitly mentioned though, but it is a right under freedom of expression. Okay, so access to vote is a freedom of expression and this has to be ensured, and when you are allowed to vote remotely, this right can be exercised. What is the current problem is that right now the citizens, even anyone who wants to vote, they can only vote in person. Okay, and except for those who are in service, except for those other than the people in the service, the rest have to vote in person, and that too in the constituencies they are registered. So this is a difficulty for migrants because they would not be able to come and vote during the elections. So a proposal to address this issue is the dynamic ballot EVMs. Okay, so currently the ballot units of EVMs list the candidates of a specific constituency. If you have voted any time, you would have observed that for each EVM would be having some ballot unit which should have a list of candidates in that particular constituency you are voting in. But a dynamic ballot unit will display the contestants of voters' home constituency. So if you are a resident of Karnataka and if you are in residing in Maharashtra, then you would be shown the constituencies of a Karnataka constituency where you are registered in Mumbai or in any other place in Maharashtra. So you would be able to vote without having to travel to Karnataka, and this would also reduce the economic costs borne by the migrants. Okay, so the travel charges, let it be the loss of pay that they will have to incur because of traveling or losing day's job, this would not happen. Also, considering the fact that this travel by the migrants during the elections and would also be an issue during the pandemic because of overcrowding, and with this remote voting this can be avoided. Okay, so this is an advantage in remote voting, that too in a situation like pandemic. A major challenge associated with the remote voting is the problem of hacking, because once these EVMs are connected to internet, they are prone to hacking, but these can be safeguarded with the existing technologies or any upgrades in the technology. Okay, so technological solution is the way to deal with such risk, and not by denying the rights of migrants. Okay, they cannot be disenfranchised or they cannot be restricted from exercising their fundamental right, implicit fundamental right. So to address the challenge of voter fraud or verification, even apart from this hacking, there could also be a challenge of voter fraud or verification because it is happening in different places. It's a remote voting. It can be idea is that it can be integrated, the voting can be integrated with Aadhaar based biometric authentication, so that there is no proxy voting that is happening. Okay, so this is all about remote voting, students. Hope you like the class, and till next class, happy learning. See you. Bye bye.